People like the Jennifer Lopez and the Alex Rodriguez, it becomes, I guess, a personal struggle because I can't really say what other people think about that. Um, with understanding when people have, not to sound catty, but when people have a lower intelligence level and they're also having cognitive problems, um, trying to sort of discuss that or provide counsel can become difficult because you become frustrated and dealing with people that have sadism issues uh, can be difficult. Um, um, Trying to explain to them and the co-parents of these children that what they are doing is teaching very bad things to children that usually even narcissists care what their children are going to appear as to other people. Even in that sort of self reflective on them um, state of being, they can somehow be reasoned with and reached as to is this display that's being put on um, more important to you or worth what the negative effects are on your own children. Um, when your life is a display, as this clearly is, with this Us Weekly and just months now of this going on, um, are you not concerned what the effects will be in the display of your children? Because what you are now doing, the two of you, is not even just a generalized uncaring, but it's almost as if you're targeting people and trying to understand without you actually agreeing to sit down with an actual psychiatrist um, what is going on in your minds as to what you're doing. Um, First of all, I've never met the two of you. You're complete strangers to me. So what you were doing is bizarre to me. Sometimes I can kind of understand when people are having a difficulty in their life or whatnot, and or they don't like something that I'm saying to them, and so or they've had an envy of me for years at a time, and so they sort of at first um, capulate on my seeming misfortune and display things to me and whatever. But to have two complete strangers to me doing that um, is particularly odd. So what um, are they targeting their exes? Is that what this is? And I'm sort of just misinterpreting that they might be targeting everyone else because their exes have dance shows. Their exes were all over the internet and tried to help people that are suffering by talking about dancing and discussing um, YouTube videos on dance. Or someone or the two of them have gone into some full blown um, grandiose delusion where everyone is supposed to pay attention to them, and that they are some kind of teachers, or they thought they were someone they're not. Like, what exactly is going on with them? Um, it's so obvious that it's nothing but a facade show, with all of this stuff, with displaying uh, another woman's children to her, and displaying your children to us, and trying to infer that the relationship you're having is more than it is, when it's obvious to everyone it's not. And this is the second man that you've done that with. Um, you seem to be in a rage of some sort. And how you got another man to engage in that is sort of odd. I mean, I don't know if he is just super duper lonely, or he's trying to get back at some ex of his, and the two of you are sort of doing that agreement unspoken, or what is going on. But when people are actually in some sort of this new blossoming love, they're not displaying photos like that all over Instagram. And they're not taking TV work, and they're not doing TV interviews, and they're not doing a dance show. So it's more than that. There's something else going on. So, trying to find out if there's a rationale to that, or if it's mental insanity, because some people do actually have mental insanity, where what they are doing can't really be pinpointed back to something in their childhood, in their inner mind. It's just sort of doesn't make sense to what they're doing. To me, I would, on first glance of it, think that they are attacking his ex because of the statements made about Jennifer, who is clearly having cognitive issues, can't keep her clothes on, is a sadist, and is displaying things to us, is some sort of ideal role model for a mother. So he is regretting now that he divorced his wife, the mother of his children. Is that it? That seems plausible here, with those statements. And the fact that he's appeared publicly several times without a ring on, as if he wants to let her know that this isn't an actual serious relationship that he's in. Only she would know if they're doing other things that sort of indicate that. Like in my situation, the ill woman that my ex hooked up with actually displayed a ring that was a replica of a cheaper version of my wedding band that I was wearing. So when someone does something like that, it's like they're presenting to everyone their inner sick, their inner motivations. So when you are dating a woman that you're not serious about, and she is sort of having an issue where she can't keep her clothes on, and she's very looks oriented, and she's very famous, and you are calling her some sort of an ideal mother, and posting your photos of the two of you all over the place, and bringing her around your children, and posting videos of how much your children like her, and how they sang a song for her. That to me is an obvious personal attack at the mother of your children. So, if she is not interested in getting back with you, Alex, I think that you need to deal with that and deal with the end of that relationship. Whatever caused that, whether you had an affair, you let all this baseball and fame stuff go to your head, and she won't go back, she will not forgive you for that, that you need to deal with that because you're harming your children. Um, Having a woman like that around your children is not well. If you yourself have not had a psyche eval, you really need to have one because eventually, if you are having cognitive issues, that will be forced, and then you will begin to gain some understanding of what you have done, and you're not going to like that very much. Um, You're not going to just go off into Alzheimer's not knowing where the heck you are or what's going on. You're still going to have to take your life walk. Um, Almighty God can make any brain think a thought. So, really try to now think about those things. And if your ex wife has said anything to you that's similar to this, like, do you think what this woman is doing is normal? Um, is she targeting me? Are you okay? I mean, what's going on with you with this? Is this really sort of your typical thing? Like, did you introduce your children to Kate Hudson when you weren't seeing her? Or was that sort of a fling that you had that you didn't expose your children to? Um, I don't really cover you. You're not an interest to me. So I don't know that, but it's a question for you to think about. Um, and as far as I can see, Kate Hudson was not displaying that type of behavior. So, even though you may like famous women or you have a certain type, were you before exposing your children to that? Or were you sort of just having a fling? I mean, I understand flings, I've done that myself, but I did not bring my children around it. Um, that's the concern. Um, Most people on the planet that are observing you can kind of see that the two of you are not well, and they can sort of explain that to children if they're being exposed to you. But are your children getting that? Or are your children stuck in that and being made to think that that's normal behavior? Um, this, in the past, here's another good one. In the past, when you were seeing a woman, would you be hanging around with her and her ex-husband? Or would that be something that would, as a man, you wouldn't really like that? You wouldn't put up with that? Um, are you drinking? Do you usually drink alcohol? Um, were you ever involved in any type of charity works or organizations to help people that are in need, or trying to help children in dysfunctional households or things like that? Those would indicate, if you were before doing that, that something has happened with your reason and your logic based on the woman that you are exposing your very children to. Um, did your ex wife and you drink? Did you party? Were you as showy with your personal life as you're currently being? Or were you more protective of your children and trying to not make your children be on display? Um, Do you have a lot of platonic friends around you? Um, like that would say, Alex, what's going on with this thing with Jennifer? Um, she was just with that singer, what's his name, Drake? And, on the couch and this and that seemed pretty displayy. And now all of a sudden she's got you, and she hasn't taken any pause in between these, and she's been married several times, and is everything all right with you? Because if you don't have platonic friends like that, um, you're not getting anyone that's sort of just asking you those sort of questions that I'm asking you. Um, when you were playing baseball, okay, were you playing baseball because you um, liked that sort of how people would think of you, that you were on sort of a winning team, or you're in the American pastime, or was it a financial reason for you? Um, some people in certain fields have a desire to be sort of like the all American, and people like them because they have kind of an honorable work. And when they then begin to do sort of things that are contradictory to that, pardon, um, that could be an indicator that something's going on. I mean, in the past, people used to call these things midlife crises, where they were sort of in a down spiral because of some emotional thing going on with them that they don't want to really face, or they didn't have a chance to have a childhood, and they misinterpreted that as having some chance to be partying and free. Um, Now, because of the situation with the pork and the mercury injections and the free radicals, and the nuclear plants, and your location, um, some of those things can be indicators of early cognitive decline. And if we sit and we listen to God, and we focus on that for some time, that He can help us with those things so that we do not continue into a sort of embarrassing thing for us, and understand what is going on with yourself. Um, so far, the two of you are either unwilling or unable to do that, because you're still partaking in this relationship, which appears to be really kind of a facade, and you are into sadist acts. Um, we have reports out of Georgia of a record number of people having their children taken, or just voluntarily given, and they're in foster care. And you were told by me via the internet in writing about my situation with my children, and you are displaying just constant family, and photos and things, and it seems really sort of uncaring. So are you doing that intentionally, or what is that? I mean, I think when someone says something, okay, If I was sort of crazy and I was paranoid and I just thought that you were just enjoying some happiness and I was unhappy and was resentful of that somehow, um, that you would still sort of tone it down because you'd have a little bit of compassion for me and the other people, that you would say to yourself, is there really a need to put that all over Instagram? If we're actually in our happy family, is there a need to keep displaying that to these people who have lost their children? Um, and the thing about the dance show, I think, really kind of, and the makeup free selfies, and then all of a sudden we're back into this because it was pointed out to you, okay, why are you doing makeup free selfies? If you were not on something where you were feeling envy towards us, okay, um, it's understandable that sometimes it's kind of like embarrassing or whatever, that you have to admit that you were wrong about something or you envied someone, and sort of, cop to that. Um, could you have sort of, realized that you were admitting that, and then just didn't like that, or became sort of mad and just went off on this thing that apparently is still ongoing? So I really would recommend the two of you to take a 6 month pause so that you can figure out. I mean, if you really want a relationship, um, 6 months is not a long time. And then you can figure out, um, even if he isn't over his ex wife, I mean, in 6 months, he can sort that out and figure out what's causing that. It could be some realization of giving up a nuclear family, or anything like that. Um, she could figure out um, that she's going to be 48 years old, and that she has to stop this thing with the body and the hair and the makeup, because you cannot maintain that. I mean, there becomes a certain point of time where you have to just accept that you're going to be old and you're an old person, and sort of go into something else and not keep trying to compete and cling to that. Um, it's part of the, you know, sharing of the ever living gospel, is so that you don't really have to have all these things that you didn't do in your life, and that you're missing out on, and to understand that you're going to get another chance to do all those things, and accept the aging process and the positive things that come from that. um, like, you don't have to worry about getting pregnant, and you can sort of focus on other things. Um, and, some people enjoy having grandchildren, or, sort of try to embrace some of the things about aging that some people think are funny, and, you know, get over that. Because I think if she can't get over that, um, she's not going to be able to have a really intimate, good sexual partner. And this bit about trying to just have this pretend family, um, singlehood is really actually better than that, than the pretending. I've lived in a pretending world where I felt like I had to do that in order to try to maintain a lifestyle for my children, and it's not a happy one. You become more and more unhappy, and you're not giving yourself a chance to come into your later half of your life. And the two of them, I mean, this is what I've kind of tried to stress to Alfred and Angela, that more Alfred, because that's my children's father, and I don't really, have any type of attachment to her personally. But having this idea in his mind that he can't have someone that's actually compatible to him because of his age or something. Some people have that at 70 years old. They find someone that's compatible to them. So now that you're 48, and you are pondering still on being 48, in 10 years you will go, wow, I'm 58. If only at 48 I had knocked this crap off and straightened my head out, that I could have had 10 years with someone. And now I'm 58 having that realization. So again, I recommend to the two of them that they take at least 6 months off, because some of the things that they're doing, I really don't think they've done that. I mean, we don't flash our boobs and stuff around. We just don't do that. Um, and if she had seen a psychiatrist would have explained to her some of the displaying behaviors, and she would stop doing that. So, a psychiatrist is not the boogeyman. He is not, or she is not judging you. It's not, you can't avoid a cognitive issue by avoiding a psychiatrist. Um, it actually helps you, because you begin the process that I thus explained to you, where you sit and figure out, okay, why am I doing this and that? And you become closer to Almighty God, and He can guide you more throughout the end of your life and what you're doing, and help you. Okay? Um, that's pretty much all I have for that. Um, it becomes almost like now I'm harassing her, and I don't mean it in that way. Um, Other than it keeps being shown to my face with the Us Weekly and you know, things like that. So someone um, wants that addressed. So I don't know if that is something to do with their children, okay? And this is sort of like an intervention where Almighty God is like, okay, this is still going on, and can we discuss this again? And that's why it's being reported rather than ignored, where some people are reactionary sadists and you just sort of ignore them because it's clear that that will actually make them stop the behavior because they were ignored and they were doing it for a reaction. Okay?